Hello, bookworms, bibliophiles, and lovers of all things literature. Welcome to the next chapter of the Braless Book Guild podcast, where we discard our bras and lift the veil to talk about books both published and unpublished. We are your hosts, Jenna.
Hi.
I am Marissa, and this is Megan.
Hello.
Before we get started, we have kind of a special treat today. In honor of the book we are about to discuss, we have all bought each other teas that we think the other would like, but we haven't told each other what they are, and we've just made it.
Yeah. So everyone want to take a sip?
Yeah, let's all take a quick sip. Cheers.
Cheers. That was good.
Oh,
it's really good.
So good. All right. So none of us know what they are. Let's start with Megan. What are you tasting right now?
Let me have another sip.
Mm-hmm. It tastes terrible.
I honestly don't know what this is. It tastes like it has a bit of fruity flavor to it. Maybe like caramel or something. I feel like, I don't know if it's because I brought yours and it has a special flavor in it, but I think it's bergamot.
I think it might have a little bit of bergamot in it.
Jenna said this like she bought it. I bought Megan's
but
Jenna helped me pick it out.
Wait, pick it up. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Jenna as I'm talking about this. Marissa, tell me more about this tea that you bought.
Well, if you would like to know, this tea is called Queen of Scots.
Ooh.
It is a black tea.
My favorite.
It is a blueberry black tea.
The fruit.
With cornflower, blackberry leaf, and other natural flavors. But yeah, blueberry,
cool.
Blackberry, and cornflower.
And
I
she
like
made
it.
it latte style, or rather, I helped her make it latte
Jenna
style.
made it latte style for me. I am not really good at making tea, guys. So.
And I did it professionally for a little while.
Yeah, so when it came down to it, I was like, hey, Jenna, can you make the tea for me? I got it, and I chose it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Thank you. It's perfect.
Yeah. Jenna explained it to me that when you make it the fog style,
fog style.
It's like blueberry muffin almost.
Yeah, I can taste it.
Yeah.
I feel it now.
So yeah, that was my choice for you, Megan.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah.
Marissa, what do you think of your tea?
All right, so my tea. Let me take another sip.
Jenna bought this for Marissa.
Yes.
And Jenna did a good job. She definitely knows me well. I take
sisters or something.
I know.
Mm.
I taste something nutty, so I'm gonna go with the hazelnut in there. I'm assuming it's a black tea.
Yep.
It kind of reminds me of the hazelnut tea that I used to get. I can't remember what it was called from the shop, but I don't think it's the same one. So
yeah, that one's not quite the same one. That one is actually a decaf black tea, but it's a cinnamon hazelnut tea.
Ooh.
And I specifically chose that one because a lot of times we're recording at night, and I thought this will give us a decaf black option later on too. But Marissa loves hazelnut. She'll occasionally do a hazelnut latte when we're out. And then she likes chai, so I got the little bit of cinnamon and spice in there too.
Yeah, I can taste it. I like it. It was a very good choice. Thank you.
All right, so for mine, let me take a drink.
I did give a tiny bit of a spoiler in yours.
She did give a bit of a spoiler because I am breastfeeding, so I need to make sure that it's something that I can drink. This one, and it might be that it's Harney and Sons, and I had a little spoiler with that. It reminds me of their Paris tea.
Yeah.
So I love their Paris tea. It's that soft vanilla kind of flavor to it, and she did say that there's bergamot, right? So
yeah.
I was prepared for that. What else?
So it is actually the Tower of London blend. It is not their Paris tea, but I do think it tastes similar to their Paris tea, and I think that's mostly the bergamot. And this is a Chinese black tea stirred with pieces of dried stone fruit and finished with oil of bergamot and honey.
Ooh, it's very nice.
And it has
love it.
extra honey in it.
Because I like sweet.
Yeah.
I love that. I can taste the fruitiness to it, which also has a little bit of their Paris tea has a little bit of fruit to it, but not overpowering, and I love it.
Yeah.
So good job, guys. We all
Yeah.
chose good ones.
And then also, as an extra special treat, we also got each other mugs for today.
Yes.
So, Megan, would you like to describe your mug?
Yeah, mine is like an opalescent kind of purpley, like very light purple gray mug with like imprints of butterflies on it. It's very cute. Very me.
It reminded me
perfect.
so much of you. So whoever chose the tea, the other person chose the mug, which caused a lot of confusion.
Yeah, we were very confused.
Definitely this.
But I chose Megan's mug, and I'm not going to lie, there was a moment I almost just got you a Naruto mug.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my love.
It was your love. But I was like, no, this has to be something unique for Megan. And I just thought, like, it was so pretty and light, and it had the, like, purple color that it actually reminded me of the colors of your bridesmaids' dresses in your wedding.
Yeah, I see it.
So I had to choose that one.
And it's nice and big, so I get lots of tea in it, which is important.
Yes.
And then my mug, Megan brought over. It is the first lines of literature, classic first lines of literature mug. So I got the one that is at my house that is like the Shakespearean love quotes, the Shakespearean hate quotes, and these are all the like opening lines and all of that, which I love because it's got all the different ones. It's got the Call Me Ishmael, Marley was dead to begin with. Great openers.
Yeah.
So I love it.
It's perfect for opening lines for our stories, and we're talking about stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And my mug, Marissa got me. So Marissa and I are big Disney fans. We love Disney movies. And we watched Encanto a ridiculous amount of times.
Yeah.
If my niece were here, she would say, it's not Encanto, it's Encanto.
She is absolutely correct. So we watched that ridiculous amount of times, and we loved that movie, and we'll sing it and joke, and we'll watch it with my son still, too. So she got me one with all three of the sisters. We have Luisa, Isabella, and Mirabelle, so I'm really excited. I love it. It's perfect for us because there's 3 girls and they're sisters, even though Megan's just an honorary sister.
I'm honorary.
Yeah.
Honorary sister.
It's cute. It's a very cute mug.
So I love it. And it's big and fits a lot of tea, which is necessary.
Yep. All right. So getting into it, guys, our book we are discussing today is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. And that was the book that I chose for all of us to read. So we're going to discuss it. We're trying to avoid spoilers at the beginning, but as we get deeper and deeper into it, we're going to get into spoilers and just more in-depth on it. But I'm very curious for you guys because I chose the book. What did you guys think? Alright guys, before we get into this book too much, I do want to share the author's note at the beginning of the book because it does have it's kind of like a trigger warning. So the author's note says, "This story explores life and love as well as loss and grief. There are discussions of death in different forms, quiet, unexpected, and death by suicide. Please read with care." So also listen with care because we will be going into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you said we're going to avoid spoilers in the beginning. The first thing I wanted to say was I loved the ending. So I'm going to have to wait to talk about that later. But that was like the first thing I wanted to say because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And I think I can say that without spoilers. Like usually I can guess the way something's going to end, and I had it in my mind. I thought it was going to go a certain way, and it did not. So we'll get to that point when we get to the spoilers. But I loved this book. I actually looked forward to. I did it through audiobook, but I look forward to bedtime when my son went to bed, and I could just listen to it, and nap time so that I could catch little pieces of it. I loved it.
Yeah. What about you, Megan?
For me, it was just okay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't one that I did not like, but it wasn't one that I was just like, oh my gosh, you guys have to read this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. I will go into more details later, but I do think I would be interested in reading more of his to see how he develops as a writer, because I think that was my biggest issue was his writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you, Marissa?
I really liked this book. There's definitely some criticism I have on it, but I think I liked it a whole lot. I from the very first chapter, and like Jenna said, I tried to guess how it was going to go and how it was going to end, and I didn't. So I liked that part. It was goofy. It was insightful. It was a lot of fun stuff. It was queer.
everyone. I loved it. I love when books where everyone has like a bit of queerness to them.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I liked the way he wrote the queerness to it. Like, the main character, Wallace, I'll give a brief summary of what the book is about. The main character, Wallace, dies. That is not a spoiler. That is literally the first thing that happens in the book, is he dies. And
no, the first thing that happens is he fires someone.
Yeah, first thing that happens is
Poor
he fires.
Patricia.
And that I laughed so hard during that first chapter of him firing this woman that just like is talking up like, thank you so much for bringing me in here and giving me all of this opportunity and being super nice. And he's just like, I really need to look into this because I'm not going to move forward with your employment with us. And
she's like, oh, and you've given my daughter this scholarship.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
We're going to have to retract
did what?
that. But, yeah, so Wallace, he's a lawyer while he was living and kind of has a very, like, pragmatic way of looking at things and is not very emotional, a little bit stuffy at times. And he dies. And after he dies, Reaper, May, comes to collect him to take him to the next step to crossing over to the other side, which is where he goes to a tea shop called Karen's Crossing.
Mm-hmm. Best tea shop name ever.
Great. Amazing.
And he meets Nelson and Hugo. And Hugo is a ferryman.
Apollo. You can't forget
and
Apollo.
Apollo, the best boy. And Hugo is a ferryman that is assigned to recently passed individuals to help them prepare for crossing over to the next side. And it's kind of a commentary on afterlife and life and what the meaning of life is, I think. And kind of learning to get over yourself and see the bigger picture of everything. But yeah, so I picked up this book a while back, and the thing that got me, and I'm going to read you the first line on the inside cover for how it's described, is, when a reaper comes to collect Wallace from his own funeral, Wallace begins to suspect he might be dead. And it's just the way that is phrased, like, that is my kind of humor right there. So I went into it, and I expected it to be funny, which it was. I think it was a little over-the-top goofy at times, which was alright. Sometimes made me really laugh, sometimes made me didn't. But I think the overall message was really what got me.
Yeah.
That was a very good job of explaining it.
Yeah, that was a great...
I will say, it is so interesting to me that you chose this book and that it ended up being what it is, because this is literally the Dead Romantics for queer people. Like, from our chapter, what was it, chapter 2, chapter 1?
Yeah.
When we recommended books to people, this is it.
Yeah.
But in a tea shop, set in a tea shop instead of a mortuary. And so, yeah, it was very interesting. And plus, also from the point of view of the dead person.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I thought it was so interesting that you chose it, and it turned out to be this way. And, yeah. So how should we get into this?
I'm curious. So I've got kind of a list of questions that we can go over. I don't want it to be super structured as far as, like, answer this question, then answer that question. My first curious question that I do know is, what was each of your guys' favorite character?
I loved Nelson. Nelson was my favorite.
Nelson was great.
Obviously Apollo, too.
Yeah, who doesn't love Apollo? It's funny because I know that it's going to be your favorite character too, Marissa, but May. May was my favorite.
She was fun.
May was great. So May was the Reaper that came and picked him up. Nelson is the grandfather of Hugo, who's a ferryman. And Nelson is also dead and kind of a ghost. The easiest term to use for it, I think, is a ghost. And then Apollo is the dog that is also a ghost dog.
Yeah.
Which was great. Yeah, May was definitely one of my favorite characters going into it. And I told Jenna, because Jenna did the audiobook version. And I started the book by reading it. Realized that Spotify had it free on an audiobook.
Oh.
So I was like, if you have the premium membership. So I was like, oh, maybe I could do like the back and forth thing. Listen to it, then go home and read it when I'm at home. I did not like how he did the voice of May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we chatted before D&D the other week, you were talking about how she sounded snotty or like...
Yeah, she sounded
stuck up.
just very annoying and like, I don't know how to describe it really, but she's, in my head, and the way I think, she's very just spunky and like high energy.
Yeah, that's how I read her too.
Yeah, and like in this one, she kind of just sounded really annoying and like talked like this a lot, and I was like, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, Jenna said he's a good narrator, but I couldn't do her voice because she was a character I loved so much.
Yeah, when she started out, it was kind of, she did have this like snotty, annoying kind of feel to her, but as he went on, it lessened, and so I almost feel like the narrator kind of pictured her snotty and annoying at first, and then realized more like how her character develops. And so, like, to me, it got less annoying later. I didn't love the way he did her voice, but I felt like he was very, very talented because as a narrator, there's multiple males in this, and Hugo definitely had a different voice from Wallace, who had a different voice than Nelson, who had a different voice than Cameron, who had a different voice than the inspector, and definitely a different voice from the manager.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. And it's like all of these different people, we're not over the top like this is this crazy English accent and then there's a crazy Russian accent. You could like still tell that they were like different people with very little inflection changes, which I enjoyed. So I thought he was a good narrator for this book. I do almost wish that I had read it rather than listened, only because I feel like because I listened, it colored how I viewed each person.
Oh, okay.
A little differently because of how he read them, which was great. Big question, and Marissa and I were discussing this, and it'll get into later. How did you picture Apollo? What kind of dog did you picture?
Yeah.
Okay, I pictured a Shetland sheepdog.
Really?
With no tail, so when he would like wag his tail, his whole butt would wiggle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a gray with like a brown like collar around his neck, like the fur collar, a mane.
Yeah.
Around his neck. That's how I imagined.
What about you, Marissa?
So I pictured my dad's dog, honestly, but this little like scruffy, white-haired, like almost wiry-haired dog that he's a mutt, so he's got a little bit of like I don't know the dog breeds that I'm trying to think of right now, but he's just like this little medium to small size scruffy looking white-haired dog.
Yeah. It's funny, I totally pictured a golden retriever.
Oh, like we all pictured a different dog. That's so fascinating.
So I was curious about that because they didn't explain what kind of dog Apollo was. So I was like, I wonder what we all pictured. And I don't have a golden retriever. It's not like that's what
Yeah, I've never had a Shetland sheepdog.
I'm like, oh, I'm picturing my dog. It's just for some reason that was the type of dog that like popped into my head.
Yeah, I think that adding that dog into this story was quite an interesting route that the author took.
Right, especially because it's a dead dog, and people often say, like...
Dogs don't go to heaven.
Yeah, all dogs go to heaven.
All dogs go to heaven.
All dogs go to heaven, of course.
Jenna's getting tired of her dogs. But yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, they talk about all dogs go to heaven and stuff, and you would think, like, a dog doesn't have that capacity of, like, wanting to stick around. Mm-hmm. It would just go ahead and move on, but it was so like loyal to Hugo that it just stuck around until he needed him.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that each character in this book was so different from the next. I didn't feel like I was reading a very generic, oh, this is the exact, stereotype of, this character. And it even didn't feel like, Wallace is a stick in the mud, so Hugo's the lackadaisical type. Right. Even though he was more like a, like carefree, had his tea shop, congenial type person who loved everyone, and Wallace was like kind of more self-centered. It didn't come across as over the top, like opposites.
I think what the author went for was like the grumpy versus sunshine, but he didn't like lean so far into the like the feel of like that trope exactly. So it didn't quite fit, but I feel like he was like this is not like a critique or anything.
No.
I feel like he could have gone that way, but he wanted to make them still feel real.
Yeah.
Instead of like over the top, like you have your Grumpy and Sunshine too much. That I think he did such a good job with certain aspects of that characterization that you could say it's a Grumpy versus Sunshine, but it doesn't feel like that trope exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I also, a big thing that I loved about this book was all of the characters were so deep. Like, it wasn't just like Hugo is this benevolent, just like, yeah, I'm just here to help you go, like, figure yourself out, and I'm just going to chill in the background and not really be active in it. Like, he had, like, his own trauma that he was going through, his own, like, hey, yeah, the core to his character was he wanted to help people, but there was way more to it that they delve into a lot.
I thought I read it as more as he didn't really do anything. He was just there to, like, listen to you and let you do it yourself. And the amount of times, this is a critique, the amount of times he's like, let me show you something. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God, come on. How much more can you show him? His little next chapter, let me show you something. It did help Wallace's characterization, though, because I will say from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, his characterization was so drastic in, like, a good way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't feel like there was ever a point where it was just, like, a complete flip of Wallace.
Right,
and
same.
That's
it was very gradual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden this happened and now I'm going to be a good guy and a friend to them. He was kind of just like slowly like, I guess I'm friends with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the found family aspect of it too, because it wasn't that automatic, like, we just bonded. It was like they genuinely, like, grew on each other and like kind of became intertwined to the point where, like, Wallace became part of that family and part of the thing. And it's interesting because I liked that it delved into an aspect of death that isn't often talked about with a lot of, like, even when they talk about, like, moving on in most books, like, it talks about death in a way that paints more picture on life than death. Whereas most other places, when they talk about, like, the afterlife, it's like, well, you're a good person, so you go to heaven, or you're a bad person, you go to hell. Whether it's fantasy or anything, and it's not actually heaven or hell. It's like their versions of it. This was more like you have to come to terms with leaving Earth behind and your body and moving on to the next place. And they don't necessarily talk about, like, when you go under the whispering door, is that heaven or hell? Or, like, is it a good or a bad place?
They just say it's next.
Yeah,
it's the next place. And almost every time it's like it's a positive experience of going through the door.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was very interesting to me the way they portrayed death. Yeah. And it's funny because I did find myself talking about this book a lot with people and recommending it to people, even though I don't necessarily think, like, they'll agree with a lot. Like, I have friends that are religious who would be like, this is not how it goes.
Right.
But then I have friends that I, like, don't necessarily read, like, gay romances, and I still was like, I feel like you'd appreciate it because it, like, portrays it in a way that makes you think about how you're living, I think, and what's important.
Yeah, that pulls me into it. The whole discussion about death in this book was so good in the fact that it wasn't trying to, like, push, like, this is what happens after death. It's not like it was trying to convince you that this is the afterlife. It was just trying to help you come to terms with death, which was what the whole process of Hugo is.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what's beyond the door. I'm not telling you what happens in your afterlife. However it goes, but here's you processing an ending and recognizing that it's not always a bad thing and trying to see a positive outlook on it and appreciate the stuff that was happening while you were alive. Like, appreciate your life while you're living and don't worry about what comes next.
I also found it very, like, amazing how the author did. You see almost every point of view with death through this. So there's a murder victim, there's a suicide victim, there's a mother who was grieving losing her child, so, like, and she was alive and not dead. there's the Desdemona who, like, thinks that she's in touch with death and, like, wants to offer people the side of the other. And it's like, because of that, you get the living people, the people who aren't grieving at all, because you saw the people from Wallace's funeral who just were like, whatever, I don't care, we didn't actually care about him or whatever. He's gone now. And you just see, like, the range of so many different ways of looking at death. Wallace's death was natural, even though he was young. Nelson was old. Mm-hmm. The mom and her young daughter passed. There's the murder victim. There's the suicide victim. There was the suicide victim and what caused his death. And you just see, like, all these different people and how they process death. And it was so interesting to have such different dynamics with it. Yeah. Although the mom part was really hard to read.
Yeah, I got to that part, and I'm like, oh no, I recommended this book for us to read, and Jenna's going to have to read it.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Okay, so I completely agree with everything that you're saying, and I think my biggest critique with the writing was that we didn't get any of the internal monologue. And one of the things that I love, especially because I'm reading Ruthless Vows right now by Rebecca Ross, is it kind of also deals with death and all of that stuff as well. But she does it in such a poetical and, like, show don't tell. Whereas I feel like this book was just completely tell. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the beginning we got a little bit of Wallace's, like, feelings towards his death, but there was no, like, I guess I wanted, like, more of the struggle in, like, ways that wasn't just, like, he's struggling. He doesn't understand what's going on. I wanted more of, like, that feeling of, like, the pit of your stomach falling out, or, like, you're choking on your words because you don't know how to quite discuss what you're feeling at the moment. But I feel like we didn't really get that. So for me, a lot of it fell a little flat for me. And then going from that to Ruthless Vows, immediately after, I was just like, yes, this is it. This is what I want right now.
This is what I was looking for.
And that's what I kind of said in the beginning was I would be interested to see how he grows as a writer and see how his work changes if he starts to go more to the show feeling. Like when Hugo takes Wallace out to the tea gardens and he's just explaining the tea gardens, okay, it's tea. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't feel that emotion that Wallace feels because I didn't really, like, he didn't describe it in a way that made me feel it as well. Mm-hmm. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree.
I think, so I see what you're saying. It wasn't very flowery writing.
It doesn't need to be flowery. There was, like, hardly any descriptions of Wallace's struggle to understand, because it felt to me like he doesn't understand. He's sort of understanding. Oh, he's, like, witnessing everything, and then, okay, now he understands.
I think it fit for Wallace and how he is as a person.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Like, I think that because it was from Wallace's point of view, if it was from, like, someone else's point of view, who...
Like Hugo or even May.
Exactly. It would be something where I'd want to see them feel that, but because Wallace is so pragmatic... and he kind of just
says
what he's thinking. He's a
lawyer, by the way. He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. And he just says what he's thinking and is used to just, like debating his feelings. And, like, if it had been from someone else's point of view who was more self-aware or had, like, more of an internal monologue, I'd want more of that. Also, and this might be weird, we're all women. Thinking
That's
from
true.
women's point of view, where we like that type of stuff, and even Divine Rivals is written by a woman.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is like the first male author that I have read since J. Kristoff Empire of the Damned came out.
Yeah.
And that was over 2 years ago.
I don't know, Empire of the Damned, actually. Sorry, J. Kristoff.
Empire of the Vampire.
Empire of the Vampire. I haven't read that one. I don't know if the main character is a woman or not.
It's a man.
Okay. So
but he is also very much a flowery writer.
Yes. He is.
Anyway.
But all the books that I've read of his, the main character was a woman. So,
I find it very funny that you're saying this. I think the reason why I really liked the book was that it was a bit more pragmatic.
That's
I
very
probably
Marissa.
relate to Wallace a little bit more than I should have. But that's also, like, a lot of the books that I read anyways that are like Kurt Vonnegut has kind of that style of, like, he's just talks about it. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, he has weird metaphors and themes and everything that he goes with, but he just talks about it, and it's not a lot of, like, super in-depth, heart-wrenching type stuff. I mean, there's things that happen, in this book specifically, the mother and daughter story and stuff like that, that's made me really sad. But it wasn't like describing feelings too much. It was describing the world and the like situation they were in.
Yeah, it didn't make you feel for the character. It made you think more like, oh, I feel for them, but I'm not like absorbed in it the way some fantasy books that I get into are.
I would love another book in this world, though.
Yes.
Because I want to read more, especially from, like, after the end of the book, like, what happens.
From what I understand, and I haven't looked too much into it, his other really popular book, which is, like, the
House on the Cerulean Sea?
Yeah. I think it's same world, but not the same discussion.
Yeah.
It's like the same type of...
Well, don't they talk about like a
they
picture?
Do talk about the
and
picture,
I was like,
and
I was like, is that...
It's the cover.
Yeah, I was like,
it's the cover of the other book. Yeah.
The other book? And so I was curious. I was like, I wonder if all the pictures that they had on there were just his different books.
Yeah.
Because he has another one that just came out. It was something at the end of the lane or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in our
And then
book,
there's like something about the puppets too. He has like a puppet.
Oh, in the
book.
Lives of Puppets.
Yeah. He's got a few different books out already. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious because I know you said you were curious to see how his writing would grow and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily, in my thought process, I don't think it would necessarily grow towards what you're looking for. I think it'd just grow in a different way because I think he is that more pragmatic. I
was going to say he reminded me a little bit of Kurt Vonnegut, but more Christopher Moore.
Yes.
And Christopher Moore has that... I'd say Christopher Moore is somewhere in between this guy and Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut has like the tiniest itty bitty little books that he's just like very straightforward and like super satirical. And Christopher Moore is kind of like funny satirical and like fantasy. This was like more funny and fantasy with a little bit more flour, I think, than Christopher Moore had. But like I said, it was from his point of view. But all three of those authors are men. And everything I read about men is men are not the type that are going to like do the show, not tell. They're going to be one-track minded and more tell than the pretty over-the-top showing.
Unless you're Jay Kristoff.
Unless you're Jay Kristoff. With the very few exceptions. Not all men.
Of course. Not all men. It's a section.
That's the thing, though, is that it's... I mean, I don't know. It's weird because there is that, like, men versus women type writing, but also there's always exceptions to it.
Of course.
People are people, not their gender. The last thing I want to talk about before we get into the spoiler part was what Jenna and I have been discussing all day.
Yes.
So one of the questions that I had, and it was very difficult for me, is if you were to cast this movie... who would you cast in the main roles? And
I have to look up his name.
And so I think we're only mostly focusing on the four main ones, I believe.
Hugo, Nelson, May, Wallace.
Yes, we already cast Apollo with our dog.
Apollo is the dogs that we discussed.
So I think, Megan, let's start with you because you had to look something up, so I want to see... Choose one character, and we'll go with one character at a time.
Okay. So I only have two. Okay. So I have May and Hugo. So I have Hugo, Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
I love him so much, and I feel like he would be such a good Hugo.
I could 100% see that. I could actually totally see that.
That's good.
My choice for Hugo was Lenny Kravitz, specifically from Hunger Games when he was Cena.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I kind of pictured Hugo, except for, like, longer curls, like a bandana. And then Lenny Kravitz if he had a dad bod, like a little gut, because that's how they describe him. He has a little gut, which I loved.
So that was something I told Jenna I latched onto at the very beginning when they were describing him. And, like, they described him as having, like, skinny arms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But 100% as soon as they described the gut, I'm like, he's got, like, a dad bod or something.
Yeah.
Mine was a really far out there because I could not find somebody that I thought would play Hugo. I went with Jordan Peele. If they did the hair and makeup right, I think he could do it well.
That's funny because originally before I got to Lenny Kravitz, I kept going back and I was like, okay, who would I do? Who would I do? And I kept thinking,
Keegan-Michael Key?
Yes, thank you. That one. Yeah. And I was like, that's not quite right, though, because he's bald and he doesn't have the curls. But I was like, but I think that he could have the personality well for that. But yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Dun, dun,
It's loud
dun.
in my...
So May. Who do you think would be May?
Okay, this one is kind of fun and really out there, but Awkwafina.
I could see it.
Okay.
I could see her because I feel like she has like that stoicness when she does her jokes that she could just pull off like the kind of snark that I personally read.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she would not only play off of Wallace and Hugo very well, but she also has that like strong like I would die for you kind of like mentality. So I chose her.
I could
That's
totally
a good
see
one.
that. I think that would I vote yours, even though that's not who I chose. So the funny thing for me is that it wasn't necessarily this actress. It was I totally pictured her as Go-Go from Big Hero 6.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so that's
she's
by
fun.
Jamie Chung is the who did her voice, and she played Mulan in Once Upon a Time. I don't know if you guys all watched that.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, okay, she could work. It's fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. But Go-Go is exactly like I imagined that short bob with like maybe like color in it that changed every once in a while, and it was just like the snarkiness of that. That was who I imagined. But I think Awkwafina might be as far as a actual actress.
I agree with picturing Go-Go. I think that's a very good picture to have in mind when you think of May. I went with Erika Ishii, and I don't know how many people will know who she is.
I do not know who she is.
So she does a lot of voice acting and stuff, but if anybody watches Dimension 20, she's in Dimension 20's high school and stuff like that. I'll look up a picture, but I think I apologize. I'm pretty sure they're non-binary, so I think they would do really well.
Do you want to go back and try that again?
I'm fine,
You
as
can
long as
say.
I could do my apology at the end.
Okay.
I think they're
No problem.
non-binary. Let me look up a picture so I can at least show you guys what they look like.
Oh, she was in Apex Legends.
Yeah,
They were in Apex Legends.
they do the voice of Valkyrie in Apex Legends. Now, their IMDb photo, I don't think does it justice, but if I go in a little bit more... So...
Ooh, yeah. With like a strip of color in their hair.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Totally.
So they
Plus-
were who I was picturing.
Also, May showing up in like a pinstripe suit
Yes.
with like a vest.
Yes.
I could see that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to draw May now.
Yeah.
So they were who I pictured
I could
as
see
far
it.
as casting, but Go-Go was a bit more what I pictured.
It's funny because when I imagined all of these characters, I totally imagined them cartoon style in my head.
Oh, really?
And I didn't notice that I was imagining them cartoon style until I started casting it, and I was like, oh, this is like a cartoon in my head. Like, and then I told Marissa, my choice for Wallace, you guys are all going to be like, really, what? But it was more the way people draw them in fan art, and it was Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy at the end of Harry
Okay.
Potter with like the slicked blonde hair and the hollow cheeks and like kind of lanky, and I was like, I could see him playing Wallace. But yeah, I was like, I don't know for sure, but it was just that fan art of Draco Malfoy that I imagined with his like suits and like I'm in sweats and flip flops, like looking down his nose at everyone, and then like
I just imagined a tall man.
Tall man.
Just a bland tall man, the white rice of men.
The white rice.
Okay, I don't know if you guys will know this one. Do you guys know who Stephen Merchant is?
I've heard the name.
It is this guy. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, from
Okay.
he's friends with he's BFFs with God, what's his name? Ricky Gervais, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like super tall, super lanky,
I can
kind
see
of
that.
dorky looking,
That is,
but
he is, no offense, Stephen Merchant, but he is the plain white rice of man.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and so that's who I pictured as Wallace a little bit.
I could see it.
And then the last one was Nelson.
Nelson, I was torn between Forrest Whitaker and Morgan Freeman. Those would be my choices.
I just imagined an older version of Donald Glover.
Yeah.
With gray hair, slightly see-through.
I went with Keith Davis. once again, you guys are going to know him from his voice acting because he did the bad guy in The Princess and the Frog.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
But let me look up.
Just from his voice. In the book, Nelson...
Keith David.
Nelson talks a lot, so...
Yeah, Nelson does talk a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like Nelson talked a lot more than Hugo did.
Right. And I feel like Nelson also kind of helped him more in a different way.
I think Nelson definitely helped him more than Hugo did.
And I think that Hugo, what's interesting is you were saying, like, Hugo was like, let me show you something. And then it was never, like, anything super, like...
Here's the backyard.
Yeah. I felt like Hugo was a therapist. And they kept making the joke about... Oh, yeah, I can see it. They kept making a joke about him being a therapist and, like, my therapist and stuff. But that's totally, like, what a therapist does, is they just let you come to terms with things on your... A good therapist. Yeah. They don't tell you how you're feeling. They lead you to uncover your own feelings and let you move on.
They give you the answers. They listen and let you figure it out.
Right. Exactly.
Where Nelson was just sitting there like, you have to unexpect it. Just unexpect it.
And I was like, oh, yeah, some people don't notice what's right in front of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's another critique I had. But we'll get into that post-spoilers.
Okay.
Well, I think that will lead us into the spoiler warning. So from here forward, we will be doing spoilers. So if you have not read the book, or if you're very interested in reading the book and you haven't finished it, whatever it might be,
pause.
Let's pause here, come back later after you read it. So, into our spoiler part of it, I wanted to start off the spoiler section with what was your guys' favorite, like, scene part of the book? Because I feel like that could get into spoiler sections with it.
I loved how they brought Desdemona back to try to talk with Nancy.
So, and explain to me, though, what was the point of that? Was it just to prove that she's wrong?
I think it was to get Nancy in the mindset to be receptive.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to, like, grant Desdemona's...
By the way, here's a floating chalk that's writing messages to you.
But then at the same time, like, she was coming and Hugo would always come and sit next to her and she wasn't receptive to hearing or listening to anything from Hugo.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so I think it was getting her in that mindset of it's receptive and, like, Desdemona's trying to reach out, and then here's this floating chalk, and they're like, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's working, and then they kind of like allow her to do that. But I also kind of loved when they like messed with Desdemona. Like that was one of my favorites too.
Sorry, autocorrect.
Yeah, sorry, autocorrect. That was so funny. I thought that was really fun and funny, and I enjoyed it. And I did find the manager to be, like, one of my more interesting characters. I found the manager as an interesting character to me.
Same.
Yeah.
So.
I think, and the reason why I wanted to save this for the spoiler part section is because one of my favorite parts was when Cameron touched him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he could see Cameron's life flash before his eyes and everything, and he, like, got to feel what Cameron felt and why Cameron did what he did.
Yeah.
And how Cameron was going like, I'm still here, save me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was one of my favorite parts because it was something that I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah.
And
I thought he was just going to like absorb him or something and get some of his life back from Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was like you said, it was just, I'm going to touch you. Here's some of my memories. I'm here. I'm still here. Yeah.
I thought that was beautifully written and very well done. Because it didn't just write off the fact that Cameron couldn't move on, which would have been too easy to do. Like, oh, well, that's what happens if you leave, and you're unsavable at that point.
Yeah, it's like they created this monster that at the beginning of it was almost like they just needed a monster, so it kept him there. And I like that it gave more meaning to that monster that Cameron was, and it wasn't just a, hey, this is the end all be all, because that's not what the book was about. It was about learning to move on.
Yeah. And Wallace learning to help people move on and what was important about moving on. I thought that was cool too, because it wasn't necessarily just Hugo finding a way to reach out to Cameron. It was Wallace becoming a part of the family and giving him a point and a meaning to it, I think.
And going off of that, my favorite part was when Wallace took the hook out of his chest and gave it to Cameron.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like Wallace doing a selfless act and then becoming a ghost balloon, basically.
That was so interesting. And
I don't know how that worked either. That was one of my biggest critiques on it, was like, it didn't actually make sense because they technically shouldn't have been able to tie him to anything anyways.
Right.
So, like, that was kind of a plot hole, but it was funny, so I
It was
loved
funny.
it.
The funny thing was I remember, like, the ghost balloon part is when, like, him and Hugo are, like, laying in bed and having their, like, moment, and I'm like, she's just floating above Hugo sleeping.
Made me think of the bent neck lady from
Yes!
what was that? The House on the Haunting
Haunting of Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House. One of those.
One of those haunts.
No, that's exactly what I thought of when it was the bent neck lady just floating over.
Exactly.
I was like, that's not weird and creepy at all. Like, I'm just going to fall asleep. Don't mind me.
I thought just, like, pull him down, throw the covers over him, because apparently he could still be tied down, so throw the covers over him, and he's like, I wish I could lay next to you. I'm like, okay, just throw the covers over him.
I know it'll be a little awkward, but let's just get May in there to, like, touch him and just hold him down.
May's cuddling the other side.
It's the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg.
That was my other thing I really liked in this book, was May's, like, acting as kind of the in-between for them. And
I love
like,
the hugs.
May hugging for me.
Because I want a hug, yeah.
I loved the hugs. The hug parts were so sweet, and I loved it.
But going back to Cameron.
Yeah.
I really want to discuss Cameron.
Yes.
Like you said, Cameron was such an important part of the book, even though he wasn't in it for, like,
most of the book,
but he was so important. And I think that, like, that was my favorite part because, again, it showed Wallace's, like, selfless act and really, for me, solidified that he had character growth. And then not only that, but we also got an end to Cameron, like a loose end for Hugo's life story. And that was able to be tied up with Cameron finally passing into the door, but also discussing, like you said earlier, discussing suicide and how that can change somebody, and, like, the fear of dying, because there was one part where he said, like, it wasn't over. I killed myself in order to end it all, and it wasn't over. So that was his, like, biggest hurdle of moving on, was that he, just had to suffer even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Cameron being a monster in the beginning, like, he was really creepy. The way that they described him, especially when, like Wallace's skin was flaking off, and Cameron's just, like, sticking his tongue out like he's eating snow or something. I was just like, oh god, he's a zombie. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. But then once he touched him, then you're like, oh snap, there's more to this.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the Cameron monster, like, the way I pictured that really brought me into, like, Miss Peregrine. The monsters in Miss Peregrine, that's what it made me think of.
I don't know why I thought of, like, Death Note, like Shinigami, like, really creepy, like.
I just thought of a zombie. It's so interesting how we have such different, like, views on how things, like, we imagined this book. And maybe that was part of the point of it being, like, less descriptive than other books, is that you can have it for yourself.
Yeah. Here's the building blocks of it, but just
you go off with yourself. Yeah.
I also liked that we got everyone's story.
Well, did we get Desdemona's story?
She didn't matter.
Everyone who mattered. I want to know what made her think she was psychic.
Marissa and I were discussing this, and it's funny because it's not how they necessarily describe her in the book, but we were like, she's totally a little goth kid that was like, I can speak to the dead. Like, that's just how we pictured her, as these little, like, goth kids.
I saw her, like, as this, like, curvy, like, I know they didn't describe her wearing it, but I definitely pictured her wearing, like, a corset that just pushed her boobs up to her face, and, like, big, curly, strawberry, blonde, reddish hair. That's just, like, and she's just super into it, but for all the wrong reasons. I kind of look cool.
Professor Trelawney. That's who I imagined.
That's so
was
funny.
A Professor Trelawney who was a little bit more in touch with her sexuality. That's
sexy Professor
again,
Trelawney.
Such different
Halloween
views.
costume ideas.
Sexy Trelawney.
Sexy Trelawney.
But no, we got, like Jenna was saying, we got kind of everybody's backstory. You got May's with her mom and all of that pushed her kind of away, and how she always felt different but was not able to express that until she was pushed out. Mm-hmm. You got Nelson with losing his kids.
Yeah.
Before, because Hugo's parents died, and like losing his kid and his kid's wife. Was it? He's a dad?
Yeah, I think he was a dad.
Yeah. And how he kind of, the reason why he's sticking around is to make sure Hugo's okay. And like, yeah, he could have crossed over whenever he wanted. It was almost like he was ready the entire time, but he doesn't think Hugo was ready, so he was being selfless and staying for him.
I loved that part.
Yeah. And then same
thing with the dog.
So how I thought this story was going to end, for the record.
Ooh, yes.
Sorry, actually, we can wait to get into that. I'll let you finish what you were saying.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So how I thought this story was going to end is I thought that when the manager was like, you have to move on because you're not Hugo's grandfather, you're not these things. I expected Nelson to be like, I'm moving on, let him stay, kind of thing.
Oh, and like a sacrifice.
Because he kept saying like, I'm not ready to move on until Hugo's ready. I'm here for him until he finds, someone who can take care of him, essentially. And so I was like, Hugo's going to be like Nelson's going to be passing the torch of Hugo onto Wallace. And then when it wasn't that, I was like, yes, I didn't expect this. I didn't see it coming. I expected somehow for it all to work out, obviously. But, like, they didn't do it in a way that I totally just saw working out.
I thought Wallace was going to pass on, somehow be reincarnated or, like, moved into somebody else's body and then walk through the door and be like, hey. Or, like, the manager was somehow going to bring his body back.
Oh, okay.
And he would, like, disappear for the while. But he would have totally passed on. And then, because he talked about throughout the entire book, like twice, I think they said, he'd imagined himself walking through the door and being like, hey, I'm here for a cup of tea. And you.
You know what's interesting is, so before the whole, like, manager gave him the, like, hey, you have X amount of days, I can't remember how much it was, to say
7.
goodbye. Yeah. You have this amount of time to say goodbye, and then you have to go through the door. Before any of that happened, I thought it was going to be similar to what Jenna was saying, where it was like, Hugo was just going to stay like Nelson stayed, and Nelson would move on, and it would kind of just be like Hugo would be there, and there'd be maybe like an epilogue or something like that Wallace would stay there, and there'd maybe be an epilogue where
Hugo died.
Hugo dying.
That's what I thought too.
And then Wallace and him moved on together.
That's what I thought too. I thought for sure it was going to be an epilogue where Wallace hung out until Hugo died, and then they moved on together.
Yeah.
And because that was like his happy ending, is being with him, and they finally got to touch or whatever, and so that's how I saw it working out too.
But then the manager gave the deadline, and I honestly thought Wallace was going to move on. I thought it was going to be a lesson of, yeah, there is loss, and now you're just going to have to wait for the next one.
Same.
Because it made sense, and it wouldn't be like a nice happy ending, but it would have fit with the theme of the book. And I think when it was like, just kidding, we'll just let him like come back to life, but you gotta have to like stay right here and you can help people.
I liked the ending though. I felt like it was good because it took everything that Wallace became and let him be that person.
Yeah.
So he went back from being this selfish person that didn't help anyone, that didn't have any cares for anyone, to literally finding the people that everyone thought had no help, like Cameron, and finding ways to help them cross over and helping like the worst of the worst. And I thought that was like a beautiful way for them to do it. And I liked that they even said like things like, oh, it wasn't all perfect. There were times when they fought.
Yeah.
There were times when, and it was like, it wasn't a happily ever after. It was, they actually got a life together. And
what's that ending of Ever After? It wasn't. We just watched it like a month ago.
I love that movie. I watch it like 3 times a year.
It basically the
point was she
lived.
Yeah, the point isn't that she lived happily ever. The point was that she lived.
Yeah, I think another big thing that I liked about this was Nelson's ending of it, and how for so long he was talking, like, Wallace is like, you can look however you want to look, you're completely in control of this, why are you looking like an old man in slippers and blah blah blah, and he's like, 'cause that's what Hugo needed.
Right.
And then as soon as he was ready to move on, he was like his younger self again, and that was something that was really cool to me, of like,
for a second, I thought it was going to be a big old plot twist, and it was actually his dad who did not move on, and he was just pretending to be the grandfather for a second. And so when he was his younger self, I was like, oh, shoot, it's his dad. Oh, no, okay.
That's how we know we read too many books.
I know.
The plot twist.
We got to have a major
plot twist.
I did also very much like the part where he had Hugo call his ex-wife.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I liked that. That was so sweet, honestly.
Yeah. So the funny part is that was going to be kind of my critique. I was going to say, you sent those questions about, like, the book club idea questions and to think about, and it's like, did the dialogue feel realistic? And I felt like it did feel really realistic up until that point when she was like, you were just friends, you sound like someone he might have a crush on. That was the only point that I was like, this is a stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell off the phone if you sound like someone that my ex might have a crush on. But I thought it was adorable. It was cute. It was funny that he was like, hang up now. It's done. You're fine. Just hang up now. And Hugo's like, no, I'm going to keep talking to her. And it like kind of was a bringing about point of them like talking about their feelings for each other.
I honestly really liked the addition of his ex-wife in the book because first of all, it explained that Wallace is bisexual.
Yeah.
And it was very explicitly said.
They both liked the
but
hunky
they
pool
both
boy.
liked the pool boy.
That was so funny.
He was talking about, like, I can't really blame her for sleeping with him. Like, if he were into me, I would have too. Like,
yeah, I probably would have too.
But the cool thing was it wasn't like his ex-wife was his ex-wife because he needed a beard, like somebody to act straight with. It was, he genuinely cared about her. He genuinely loved her. And then they had their rough patches and
just made mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they couldn't mend those mistakes. And I liked that because it was a genuine, like, relationship that he had and made him very explicitly bisexual rather than, oh, it was a gay character that was just experimenting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because he did love her.
I also think that what I liked about her, too, was that that seemed to be not the turning point for him, but you see him with her, and he talks about through their relationships that's when he turned into the jerk lawyer. And like he stopped being there for her, stopped caring about her. He didn't give her what she needed, and so like their relationship, he's seeing from a different perspective and realizing his mistakes in life and realizing who he doesn't want to be in death. And then he's kind of realizing it too late because he's dead.
Right.
And like it's one of those things that he has to kind of come to grips with as like, I treated her really wrong. But like when he sees her at the funeral, he's just like, you cold-hearted. Like, he's like, you're
the reason.
Yeah.
He blames her for everything. Yeah.
Why aren't you crying over me? Why don't you love me? And it's like, when we see her at first, we're just like, wow, these people hate each other.
His delusion in the beginning, he's like, oh, I'm going to walk through these doors. Why there's nobody at my funeral? That's so weird. Oh, here's my coworkers. Oh, they're going to talk about and they like how good I was and how much they miss me and how the company's never going to be the same. And they're just like, he was a jerk.
They completely like stop talking about him and start talking about like the sports game or something.
I laughed so hard, and it's like a perfect like it was perfectly delivered comedy for me that the three partners just said the exact same thing in different words.
Yes. He was a diligent worker. Yes. He was a diligent worker. Yes.
He was a jerk. Yeah,
he was a jerk.
He was a complete ass. Yeah, he was like it was like
their own words, but the same thing.
Exact same thing, just in like the same sentence, just in three different ways. And I like laughed so hard. I remember listening to it. I was driving while I was listening to that, and I like actually cracked up laughing at we're all the exact same people saying the same thing, and it's pointless. And then, but yeah, I loved that, like, he was like, when he was looking at May, he's like, I don't know who she is. Maybe I helped her. She must have been a client. She was really, really won over by me. I really did something beneficial for her. I won a case.
And then he thinks she murdered him.
Yeah, and then it devolved into her being like, oh, she's disgruntled. I wasn't able to help her. She must have murdered me.
She became obsessed with me, and then she murdered me.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was cracking up the whole time. Like, his funeral was a great scene because it really set the stage for one, for how he was in life, but also, like, his delusions of how people saw him. And that, like, when you're in your own head and you're like, I'm just pragmatic, this is how it is, you think, people still like me, but you don't realize how unlikable you are in those moments.
So another character we didn't talk too much about on here was Alan.
Alan.
Yes. Alan was, I think it was a good choice to bring a newly dead person into the thing so Wallace could see the other side of it, because Wallace had been staying there for so long, and then Alan comes in, and Alan is like a reflection.
I know who I would cast him as. I just need to find the guy's name so that I can
Not
tell you.
Michael Cera?
Not Michael Cera, but kind of reminds me of Michael Cera.
Alan, okay, now we have to look up the name.
I imagined Michael Cera because I have recently watched Barbie.
That's so funny.
And his name is Alan.
And his name was Alan.
While you guys are doing that, I will explain. So Alan is a recently deceased character who is a murder victim. Therefore, when May brings him in, they're always just like, okay, it's tough. It's really difficult to, like, come to terms because their life was stolen from them. Meanwhile, those who die at an old age, it's a lot easier for them to accept death because they have lived their life, but Alan did not. So I assume everyone who's actually read the book has been listening up this far, so I don't know why I explained it. I apologize.
No, it's all good.
I
like
like that.
Because if people don't mind having the spoilers, but they want to read the book too, or they want to hear what we got to say.
I pictured Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
The
angry Michael Cera.
The evolution of Michael Cera.
I just imagined the angry Michael Cera because, like, that's how he is to me.
Yeah.
Like, he plays that very angry person very well.
Yeah. I pictured Jamie Campbell Bower, who was Vecna in Stranger Things and played Jace in Mortal Instruments and a bunch of other things. He was in Sweeney Todd. He's in a lot of stuff, honestly. But yeah, that kind of gaunt-looking, longer hair rocker dude.
Mm-hmm.
So funny how we all picture differently.
I know.
Oh, me and Megan. I just have the angry version of Michael Cera. She is regular Michael Cera.
But I think it was such a critical point in Wallace's journey too, to see somebody that was very similar to him starting off, but in a different light. Like, that guy had a lot of anger where Wallace just had a lot of denial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that what was interesting with him was Wallace was able to see how far he had come.
Right, at that point.
Yeah, because, like, at that point, I think that, and not even for us, we got to see how far Wallace had come, because it kind of just was like, oh, it's taking on, and it's going on. But watching someone else react so violently and angrily and in denial of, like, not being able to do anything, Wallace had been at that point not long ago, and we were like, oh, now we see him kind of in his acceptance stage, and just he's not ready to move on yet, but he's kind of like accepted he's dead, and he's not that angry, like, let me talk to the manager.
Speaking of the manager.
Yeah.
Did you have more to say?
Oh, I was just going to say the other part with Alan coming in was not just for Wallace, but for Hugo. I think that was when we first started seeing Hugo as not having all of the answers.
Right, because he had
really struggling to figure out, like, how am I going to help this one?
He had a panic attack.
Yeah.
And Wallace being able to help Hugo through his panic attack because his ex-wife had them as well.
Yeah.
And how he even admitted, like, I didn't know how to help my ex-wife back then, but just being there for her was helpful. And then Hugo was like, yeah. That's exactly it.
That's just what I needed.
I also feel like that was a turning point for them from being just kind of attracted to each other to genuinely having more of a relationship for me.
Do you disagree?
Megan disagrees.
One of my least favorite tropes is the, I don't know why I'm feeling this way.
Oh, yeah.
As someone who's always known when I had crushes on people, Mm-hmm. Always. I have never been confused about my feelings towards someone, ever. Mm-hmm. So for me, him just being like, I just want to be around him 24/7, but I don't know why. Yeah. And, I just want to, I just don't understand why I want to, touch him when I can't. And then Nelson's over here just like, everyone else sees it. May sees it. Nelson sees it. I'm sure Hugo saw it. So that's just one of my biggest, and this is like the ultimate of that thing. So that was a big pet peeve for me for this book.
It might be that the way it was read through the audiobook, it didn't come across as much that way. It was more, it was written in there for sure, but the way he talked about it with the audiobook, the tone in which he had it more across was like less, I don't know why I want to do this, and more like, I keep finding myself reaching for him, forgetting that I can't, kind of thing. And that's just how it felt in the audiobook more, was less the, I don't know why I'm attracted to him. More like, I'm attracted to him, I just don't have any right to be attracted to him. And he's alive, and I'm dead, and I don't get to be jealous about the inspector coming and hitting on him, which was also another favorite scene of mine. I loved that one.
I think it was both, honestly. I think it was that annoying, like, I don't know why I'm attracted to this person or why I feel this way. But it also, I think he started to realize it. And I agree with you, Megan. That's one of my least favorite tropes, is the, like, why am I suddenly, like, wanting to be around this person all the time? It's annoying. But I think the author wrote it and it grew into that, like, I realize that I do want to touch him, but I can't now. And it became less of the, like, I don't know why I don't want to, and more of a, well, I can't, so I shouldn't, so I'm going to act like it's not.
Yeah.
But you wanted to talk about the manager.
Yes. The manager. Speaking of the manager. Mm-hmm. Manager's a little boy. A little deer.
I loved that.
A deer boy.
I know. So, okay, first of all, it's funny because I started talking about this deer and I go, wait a minute. And I flipped to the beginning and look at the cover and I'm like, there is a deer on the front. Like,
so when I picked up this book before I even started it, I was like, oh, there's a deer, like, shadow on the cover. Okay, that must be important. And then when the deer came out, I was like, why is there a deer, just a random deer in there? I completely forgot about it.
So the funny thing is that for some reason I think that deer, the shadow of the deer, might be why I pictured the Shinigami from Death Note and the, like, creepy, because of the, like, horns coming off of it and everything. And so to me, that was the monster, even though then you find out it's the manager.
It's the manager who that's literally what he is a manager, because there's other higher beings.
Yeah. Right. So he's not like God.
There is no God. I feel like the author made a very big point about there's no God.
Yeah.
So I could see some religious folk being a little upset with that. But
yeah. But it made it clear that, like, the manager was not just, like,
in charge of everything.
In charge of everything.
Right.
I know exactly what happens, and I'm the one that does it. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm a higher status than you. But then you get more into it. It's like, but I also answer to people higher than me as well. So
yeah. Yeah, I think they did a good job, because another thing that we didn't really talk about, but that they talked about in the book, is Hugo's not the only ferryman.
Yeah.
There's other ferrymen everywhere, and a big thing was Walsh was like, why did I get taken to you? Why didn't I get to whatever ferryman is in the city? Because obviously you're not the closest ferryman, or you'd be super bombarded. So the manager seems to be, he looks over all the ferrymen who have their own reapers, and so he kind of, like, manages all of that and makes sure that everything's functioning that way. But yeah, so I thought the manager, I loved the aspect of it being a child, because there's nothing kind of creepier than, like,
a creepy child.
A creepy child that's in charge of everything.
You know what's funny? I didn't find the manager creepy at all. I just found it really interesting. Like you said, a child is in charge of everything. So, like, I love when they do that in, like, movies and stuff, where the character comes in and it's this child actor, but they're, like, acting super adult and, like, they're running the entire show.
My favorite part is Third Rock from the Sun with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, as he's, like, the oldest character, but he's put in, they're aliens,
right?
But he's put into a child's body.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I remember that show, and I used to be like, this is, like, perfect. This is the perfect idea of, like, you're stuck being a kid when you want everyone to take you seriously.
Going through puberty.
Yes.
That's important.
Going through puberty. But yeah, the manager, it's funny because I don't know if I found him creepy so much as, like, it was supposed to give you, like, the tingles. Like, we don't want the manager called. We don't want to.
Oh, yeah, they made a whole point about that.
You know, like, we shouldn't have to deal with him. It's fine. It's not a problem. And it was like, so it's supposed to be that. But the funny thing is all I could think of was A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Oh, with the prophecy kid.
The bone carver who she sees as a child the whole time. And, like, so I was like,
I can feel that now.
These feeling of, like, this bigger,
unease,
higher being that's supposed to bring unease, and, like, it appears to you as a child. And I thought that was very interesting because I almost feel like the writers are making a point that they're these beings that you should take seriously that come at you so that you won't take them seriously. Right. In a way that you'll underestimate them. Or, like, almost like, don't worry about me. I'm not anything to worry about. Like,
I'm not a threat.
Let me put you at ease. But, yeah, I found the manager to be a very interesting character. And once again, I like that he was kind of the big bad guy and Cameron was kind of the monster. And these were the two people that you didn't want to interact with. And neither of them were bad, per se.
And both of them, in the end, are the reason that Wallace was able to live on,
I guess the question that I would have for you guys, what would you say the antagonist of the book was? Because like you were saying, the manager and Cameron were kind of set up to be the bad guys, but they weren't.
I'd say they were meant to be the antagonist, but the point of the book wasn't to have an antagonist. I think the point of the book was we are our own antagonists, kind of thing. Like, it's an internal conflict rather than an external one.
So the in writing classes, they always talk about, is it man versus nature, man versus God, man versus self. So for me, it was the man versus self. So the antagonist of it was Wallace's own self. I guess you could say there's also, the inspector guy was also kind of an antagonist as well. But he was only there for like a chapter.
I don't think he was an antagonist, but the Reaper before May was the worst.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Awful guy. Yeah. Awful. Horrible.
I am glad with what happened to him. Just being erased from existence because...
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would say, again, I would love a story about him and like how he eventually got to that point, a la A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So we didn't really talk about, too, how Hugo, when a new soul comes to Charon's Crossing, he greets them with a cup of tea. And he specifically gets a feeling, and he says, like, sometimes it's a really strong feeling, and he knows exactly what tea to brew him, and sometimes it's not such a strong feeling, which is why we did this for each other. And, like, Wallace says it was peppermint, and it, like, sent him back to his childhood and reminded him of his mother making candy canes and stuff like that. And then I also like that when they bring that up later, the manager goes, how interesting, because you don't like your mother.
Right.
Yeah. And it was, like, it kind of, like, turned it on its head of, like, it's not necessarily just a nostalgic memory because he loved his mother and suddenly he's not as close to her or whatever. So it was so interesting how that is his way of kind of, like, stopping things and making people pay attention in a way, is giving them tea. But I also loved how Wallace was like, I don't drink tea. I don't like tea. What do you want me to do with that? I can't even pick it up. I'm a ghost. What do you want me to do? And he's like, it's a special teacup. Trust me. Just drink it. But yeah.
I think another one of my favorite parts, just because we were talking about coming in with the tea, is when Wallace first shows up and Hugo's not there and he meets Nelson.
Oh my God.
And he's treating Nelson like he's Hugo and he's this big higher power, and Nelson's just like eating it up, and he's like
yes, I am Hugo.
Okay, you want to be returned back to life, so what I'm going to need you to do is bounce around on one foot
and say, I want to live, I want to live.
Louder, you really have to feel it.
Throw your hands in the air. Oh, that was so funny.
That was a great spot.
There was a lot of parts that I laughed in. Were there any parts that made you tear up or cry?
The mom, for sure.
The mom?
The mom with... It wasn't like, it didn't make me, so like I said, I listened to this a lot with my son when he was sleeping, and we co-sleep, and he sleeps on me a lot of times, so he was cuddling me, and when they talked about Nancy's background and how her daughter, Leah came into Chiron's Crossing because she had passed away from sickness, like a sickness.
Bone cancer, I think it was.
And so she passed away from sickness, and the mom knew she was dead. It wasn't like she was like kidnapped or something where the mom could be like, no, she's really alive. She knew that she passed away, but like the denial and grief because she felt the calling from Leah to come to Chiron's Crossing because she's a child and she had like the strength with her mom. And this whole time I'm reading the story of like Nancy and Leah and what's going on, I like grabbed my child and like held so tight and just like kissed his head while I was listening to it because I literally could not imagine losing my child. It was like the biggest fear I have in the world, for sure.
Yeah, that was really sad. That one, definitely when I got to it, I thought of you and Elias, and I was like, I don't know. I felt bad because I'm like, oh no, Jenna's going to read this now.
I think you asked to come over after you read that point because you were like, I read something about a child and I need to come over or something at one point.
Yeah. But I think because, not so much what leads up to it, but because of the depression aspect of it, Cameron's story, and the fact that he did commit suicide and how that affected him. It didn't make me tear up, but that one hit me pretty hard because I was like, that's gotta be terrible to finally, like, pardon my phrasing, but to like pull the trigger on it and do like cross that line of actually committing suicide and then having to deal with the aftermath of that. Like, it maybe like some trigger warning here and everything like that, but I think part of the push to commit suicide is to just end it and to not have any aftermath and not have to deal with the aftermath. So having to deal with the aftermath is kind of
it was hard.
Yeah. So that part, I think that one hit me pretty hard. And then it didn't make me cry, but when they described how the Reaper before May pulled Leah up and forced her to go through, it didn't make me cry, but that made me angry.
It made me angry, and I think that's the point when I like gripped Elias, because it's like, first of all, death is going to be ripping your child away, and it's already like you feel this sense of loss, and to feel like someone was pulling the child further away from you when they're already pulled away, like that was a lot for me too.
But Hugo could have had a moment with Nancy to say, hey, your daughter's still here. Yeah. If there's anything that you want me to say to her, or like I can do, like basically be I know he wouldn't.
Yeah. I think also at that time, yes, he wouldn't, because I don't think he thought it would help anybody. Yeah. And his whole point is to help Leah cross over. But I also think at that time he doesn't know the rules of it. Right. He doesn't know what he is allowed to talk about. So he didn't want to take that risk, thinking maybe this is what we have to, if I say this, maybe disastrous things will happen.
It's very true. I think a big thing for the thing with Cameron too is his turning point and why he killed himself was losing the person he loved unexpectedly. It sounded like a stroke, I think. He ended up
like
having
a stroke or
it was like an aneurysm or a stroke or something.
And so like the love of his life just died all of a sudden. And like what's interesting is that for him to lose the person that was the light of his life, and then Nancy to lose her child, which would be the light of her life, and both of them going about their grief differently, like it shows the different ways we deal with grief and everything like that. But they were definitely very heavy. Both of those were heavy storylines that I think hit really hard, and I think both of them hit me a little differently in different ways and made me think of different things. But definitely, since becoming a mom, can't do kid stuff for some reason. That idea like destroys me every time.
Was there anything that made you tear up, Megan?
When they talked about Apollo. Yes. They brought out the vet in the garden.
Oh, yeah.
I did tear up a lot with that, and then I did tear up when Nelson finally passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I just thought that was just like a beautiful tear up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those were just the two moments for me.
For the record, before I had a baby,
it would have been
a dog. Would have been horrible for me.
Yeah.
having a baby destroyed me in a completely different way. I'm a horribly different person than I was a year ago.
Yeah, the whole story of Apollo, like I said earlier, was just so amazing to me. Of like this dog that was just so like loyal to past the end was just so good. And the fact that it was all like, hey, he was supposed to be like my emotional service animal, but
he failed. But then he literally was just an emotional service animal even past death.
Yeah,
like, he didn't fail. He was a good pupper.
He did the best he could, and he passed.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved all of it.
Yeah. Is there any last things we wanted to mention before we move on?
Should I say it now? Like what I've decided for my book, for our next book? I don't think Megan's read it, and if you have read it, I'm going to have to find something completely different. But I don't think, because it's a pretty new book.
She's going to be like, yeah, I read that.
Right.
I'm actually reading it right now, by the way.
Yeah.
A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal.
I'm getting that in my Fairy Loot box for March, so I will be having it, and I am so excited for that. Sorry, that was like very loud. I'm very excited for that book.
So what made me decide this one was that it said that it was perfect for fans of Lee Bardugo's Six of Crows.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I've heard great things about We Hunt the Flame. I actually own both the books. I just haven't read them yet. So they're both on my thing. And obviously it's about a tea house. So I thought that was perfect for us.
From Karen's Crossing to another tea house.
Yeah,
all the teas. Fine.
But yeah, that's going to be our next book. So if you guys get a chance in the next month and a half or so, read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And join us for our next one. Otherwise, Marissa, do you want to end us with a quote?
Yes. So we like to end these ones with a quote from the book itself. And
we unanimously agreed on the quote.
Yeah, we all agreed separately on our own and then told each other this should be the quote. We're like, yeah, that's what I thought. So this quote is...
No, wait, you have to explain where this quote is.
Okay.
So that we know why it's important, then tell us.
So basically, when you enter Karen's Crossing in the book, there's this sign on the board, and it says, "The first time you share tea, you are a stranger. The second time you share tea, you are an honored guest. The third time you share tea, you become family."
So you're all our family.
Yeah, because if you've listened to more than 3 episodes and drank tea while listening, then we are all family now.
Yes.
Yes, and we accept you with open arms.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, that's it for now, and we will see you next time.
Till next time.